Hi and welcome back to ScottiesTech.Info. I'm Scotty with my co-host Cletus, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm calling it 5G Q&A. Since I made my video about 2 years ago, 5G is just the tip of the iceberg, in which I talked about how everyone's concerned about 5G, but of course if you're concerned about 5G, and you should be, then you should also be concerned about 4G, 3G, 2G, 1G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, because there are many, many studies out there showing that all of these digital wireless technologies have certain negative effects on our health in various ways. And with the recent virus thing that happened, that old video that was 2 years old, 5G is just the tip of the iceberg, that video kind of got some renewed interest, and so many more new comments flowed in. So I just wanted to take a little bit of time to sort of answer people's questions and make some comments on statements that other viewers have made. So the first one is a question, and it is, how long have they been studying Wi-Fi to see all these health effects? What is the population these studies? Are you cherry-picking studies? So I assume that what is the population these studies, I think that means what portion of the population are these studies referring to? And the answer to that question is pretty simple. You just read the actual study. It's obviously not the entire population, it's a segment of the population, and usually that's part of studies, is that they actually say, okay, look here, we tested these 1,000 people, we picked them randomly, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, that one's pretty easy to answer. The second question is, are you cherry-picking studies? In other words, am I picking studies to show that wireless technologies are bad, whereas there are other studies that show that it's perfectly safe? And the answer to that is, of course I'm cherry-picking studies. But the thing with that is that the people who say that no, there's nothing wrong with all these wireless technologies, they're also cherry-picking studies. So you see, the point of me making videos on 5G and other wireless technologies, and the point of me talking about the dangers involved in them, is the simple fact that you have a whole bunch of studies, and there's a big chunk over here. At this point, it's literally thousands of studies showing that various wireless technologies, various frequencies, even like power line frequencies, 60, 50, 60 hertz, all these different things give us this kind of electrosmog. There are thousands of these studies. Now, on the other side, you have a whole bunch of studies that show that no, it's perfectly safe. So if you're the kind of person who says, no, these wireless technologies are perfectly safe, what do? Well, you point to the studies that show it's perfectly safe and say, in other words, you cherry pick your studies to prove your own point. And if you say that no wireless technologies are dangerous, what do? Well, you find studies to show that it's dangerous. But here's the problem. The way that science is supposed to work is we're supposed to come up with a theory. In this case, wireless technologies are safe. And then a bunch of people do studies, and of course you have to have a randomized segment of the population, and they should be peer-reviewed, and you have to repeat the study and confirm it, and blah, blah, blah. And the peer review process necessarily means that other scientists and researchers are going to look at it, they're going to point out flaws in the studies, maybe people will do new studies that will compensate for those flaws, you get slightly different results, maybe you don't. But the thing is that that's actually not really how things are done. The FCC comes to mind. I've mentioned this before, but the FCC, there was like a congressional hearing, and some head honcho at the FCC goes in and he's asked, we're deploying 5G everywhere. Have you actually done any studies to show that 5G is safe? And the guy said, no, the FCC has not done any studies. Then he was asked, do you know of anyone who's done studies to show that 5G is safe? And he said, no, I don't. So, and keep in mind here that the FCC is the organization that's basically saying, nah, just go ahead with 5G. Yeah, no, it's fine. Based on an original study done in like 1971 or something that considered only power levels. It doesn't consider the type of modulation, the pulse nature of the signals, blah, blah, blah. So it's not even a case of cherry picking, because the regulatory agency isn't even doing any studies at all to show that it's safe before approving it for use. So, and again, the point of my 5G videos is to say, look, especially 5G is just the tip of the iceberg, as the name implies. Look, if you're going to be concerned about 5G, well, you should be, because here are some studies from doctors and physicists and all kinds of different researchers showing that this stuff is not good. Yes, I'm going to point out those studies that show it's bad, because over here we have studies showing that it's good based on something that doesn't consider all the details, and then we have regulatory agencies who basically just don't care about studies at all. So yeah, is it cherry-picking studies? In a manner of speaking, it is cherry-picking studies, but what's supposed to happen is if you have like 1,000 studies that show it's safe and one that shows it's not, well then okay. If you have thousands of studies showing something's not safe, then you have to go back to the original hypothesis, which is that wireless technologies are perfectly safe, and you have to go, whoa, hang on, let's review those studies that show it's safe. That's not what the FCC is doing. The FCC isn't even reviewing anything. They're not telling anyone else to review anything. All they're doing is saying, yeah, we did this study like decades ago that only considered power levels and not like, you know, the pulse nature of signals or anything else. Yeah, it's all safe. Could just, we refer you to that old study from decades ago, which is utterly insane. And then people like me come along and say, look at these thousands of studies here showing that there's a problem, and don't you think you should be concerned about that? And then people say, you're just cherry-picking studies. Yeah, but it's not that simple. In fact, it's pretty hilarious, because imagine that we're not talking about wireless technologies. Imagine we're talking about a drug company. And the drug company comes out and you know, they do a study. When was the last time that a drug company produced some sort of pill and then said, yeah, you know what, we did a study and our pill is like just total crap. Yeah, nobody take it. It's garbage, man. It's gonna kill you. Like never, which is why we have all these court cases where, you know, they push these various things and then people get harmed by it, and then there are court cases and it drags on and on for years, and you know, eventually, sometimes the truth comes out and they go, oh right, the drug was harmful and the drug company knew it from the get-go, blah, 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 pay them, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's crazy making. In any case, that leads us to our second question, which is actually a statement. I always find it funny how people who deny all conspiracy theories almost never follow up with research. Well, of course not. They don't have to do research. And the research that you do show them, well, it's meaningless because they're not concerned with research. They're not concerned with facts. They're not concerned with like history or like reality. It's they just don't care. So it doesn't matter what you put in front of them. In fact, and why should they care? I mean, you know, people who deny that all conspiracy theories, well, of course they deny all conspiracy theories. I mean, just think about it logically. In the entire history of the human race, have there ever been two people who actually got together and conspired to do something nefarious? Of course not. That's crazy. No two people have ever come together. Two or more people. More than two people? Are you crazy? No pair of individuals or group of individuals has ever gotten together and decided to like rob a bank or do something and then hide it from people or harm other people, or like nothing bad has ever happened. We live in like rainbow lollipop world. As to why they don't follow up and actually look into anything, that is the topic of the next comment, which is again a statement, which is, when I tried to tell those that I know about the dangers of 5G, they all dismissed me as crazy. Everyone is convinced that if it was dangerous, governments wouldn't allow it. So, right, the reason that people say, no, nothing bad happened, that can't be bad, 5G can't be bad, because the government wouldn't allow it. Never mind that, you know, they don't want to look at facts like the FCC and everything. Like, okay. The reason that people say that is because they are what is called authoritarian followers. Now, this is basically, when you're an authoritarian follower, you look to someone in a position of authority to tell you what to do, and you follow them almost religiously. And you will even defend, violently if necessary, the belief, whatever belief that the authorities have given to you. And this isn't really surprising, because when you think about it, you know, we all start off as little kids, and what happens? Well, you know, mommy and daddy are like, they're like God, right? They are the authorities, and we listen to them. And of course, everyone thinks that at some point they feel like grown up. They feel like they're an adult now. But if you look back on your own life, I mean, sure, you could say, well, there's certain points at which you sort of felt grown up. Like you could say, well, when I left home, when I got my first job and got my own place, or when I got married, or when I had kids, then I felt like I was really grown up. But the fact is that kind of like in our heads, we sort of stay childlike, and we always want someone to be mommy and daddy, and that's kind of one of the purposes of government, because we're trying to live our happy lives and just get along, get married, make babies, be happy, right? And then there's this government over here, and we can say, let's just let the government handle it. And of course, well, the government doesn't always handle everything perfectly, because they're human beings too, who are often acting like little children. And so essentially that belief in authority, it becomes stronger than logic, and people convince themselves that they think that they're being reasonable when in fact they're not. And that actually reminds me of the Stanford prison experiment, which was done in 1971 by a dude named Philip Zimbardo, I think. And in the Stanford prison experiment, he was, kind of a Stanford University, he's a professor or whatever, and he gets a group of students together, flips a coin and divvies them up in half and says, like, okay, this group of students, you are the prisoners, and this other group of students, you are the prison guards. And he actually instructs the prison guards to basically be mean to the prisoners. So here are these students listening to their professor, and they know they're participating in an experiment, and so what happens? Well, the prison guards, who are just students, basically start mistreating the prisoners, who are also just their fellow students, to the extent that they use things like psychological torture, and it got a little bit out of hand, and people left, and of course this is kind of an infamous social experiment. And that's kind of also what happens in real life. If you remember Germany, for example, in the 1930s and 40s, not all of the people in Germany at that time were like complete psychopaths. There were a lot of them who just, authoritarian followers. They go along with authority. They're happy that the economy is booming and this is happening and we're better than everyone else. And it doesn't take much to make a person's brain turn off, essentially. The next comment is, it never ceases to amaze me how disinterested a lot of people are in what's going on right now. They have more important things to do, like post pictures of themselves on Facebook. Well, first of all, bruh, Facebook is so last decade. You're supposed to use like the Instagram or the TikTok or any number of other social media sites whose names I don't even know because I'm not cool enough. I'm too old. But I am a little bit kind of confused because, like, are you saying that no one cares when I post pictures of myself on social media? Like, that my opinions and views and photographs of myself, eating breakfast, working out, staring at a tree, no one cares about these things? Because, well, that's kind of upsetting. Wasn't I just saying something about acting like little children just a minute ago? I'll have to go back and review the video. The next comment is a question, and it is, why go out of your way to drop a bomb over a city when you could convince everyone in that city to come get the bomb from you, pay you for it, and then take it home and put it under their pillows? Bingo! Yes, in fact, it is all about money, but it's about more than that, because when they can get you to agree to, hey, take a Gmail account, you get 1 gig of storage, it's all free, you don't have to pay for it, and then they're hoovering up all the data from all your emails and your web surfing and all this other stuff. Well, there you go. Then you have a smartphone, and of course smartphones aren't totally free, but the operating system, Android for example, that's perfectly free. And it has proprietary Google software that comes along with it, and of course it's wonderful and it makes your life so much easier. You can get a microwave from Amazon at a really low price, and that microwave is wirelessly connected to your super smart speaker and your super smart camera, which is filming you during private moments. And of course it's not supposed to be reviewed by any human beings, but then we learn later that in fact it is, because they have to train their algorithms. And it's all about actually pushing all this technology into your life, either cheaply or for free, so that they get a little bit of money from you, but what they really want is all the information. That's one of the main reasons I harp against the privacy violations, because it's not just about your privacy, it's about getting as much information as possible about you, because yes, it is about making money, but more than that, it is about getting information from you. And nowadays, as we all know, information is essentially money and power. When you can install an app on your smartphone and all it's doing is showing you the weather, but it's also sending your location data off, and that location data is actually being bought and sold to God knows who. It's about information, and that information is worth a lot of money. So, yeah, if you go in and you willingly submit to it, it's a Trojan horse, basically. But of course, that's not enough. That's why we need 5G, because there's not enough information. So we need smart dust and smart rice and smart rocks, smart watering systems, and we need a chip in everything, and a camera and a microphone and a wireless 5G connection, so that absolutely everything in the entire universe is connected to the internet, is part of the Internet of Things, so that they can get even more information that they can use against you and buy and sell. Isn't it wonderful? And finally, someone posted a comment recently, and he said, "Yet there are videos of experts saying that your video is garbage. Like the guy who said, if we are afraid of 5G, then we should be terrified of light bulbs." That's just crazy. Okay, that's a little bit like saying, if you're afraid of lions, of course lions are big cats and they're furry and ferocious and mean. If you are afraid of lions, then you should also be afraid of chickens. If you encounter a lion on the street, you should turn and run like heck in the opposite direction. Similarly, if you encounter a chicken crossing the road, of course you should turn and run in the opposite direction. Why? Because, I mean, a chicken is this little innocent thing, you know, and like, then there's this lion, and you go, well, they're very different. No, sir, they are not different, because they are both animals. A lion is an animal and a chicken is an animal, so if you are terrified of lions, you must be terrified of chickens. That makes perfect sense. But more seriously, the fact is that, yes, especially LED light bulbs, they have electronics inside. Those electronics are not designed to emit 60 gigahertz radio waves. The electronics are designed to power a little LEDs inside your bulb. And yes, it emits, you know, frequencies, sometimes hundreds or thousands, tens of kilohertz, perhaps. But again, like a light bulb is not designed as a 60 gigahertz wireless transmitter or a 2.4 gigahertz wireless transmitter. It's not designed to spew out digitally modulated pulsed waveforms and transmit them long distances. In fact, if you're really curious, you can just buy one of these, something similar. This is my EMF meter. It is I can never remember the name. It is a Cornet ED-88TPlus. They're about $150. It measures up to 8 gigahertz. You can just take one of these and like you can measure the strength of wireless signals, and then you can take LED light bulbs, as I've done, and you can put it in the different modes, you know, magnetic, RF, whatever, and you can go and you put it near the light bulb and you see at which point the little indicator goes into the red and stuff, and you have to be about this far away before it gets into the red, and it stays in pretty much the low yellow or green otherwise. And the field, you know, like the field strength or the RF strength, like it's basically zero unless you're within like 5 centimeters of the bulb. And again, it's a very different frequency. It's true that, you know, everything is part of the electromagnetic spectrum, but you know, to say that a 10 kilohertz wave is having the same effect on you as a 60 gigahertz, you know, 5G beam, no, they're very different animals. Now, that's not to say that the low frequencies don't cause problems, because you have things like dirty electricity. There's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of studies that have shown that even modulated analog signals, no pulsing, from things like you know, light bulbs or your blender or whatever can have negative effects on certain people at least. So that's not to say that all of the stuff is perfectly safe, but we can certainly say that there is a vast difference between an LED light bulb and a 5G 60 gigahertz phased array antenna that is specifically designed to shoot out. It's like, obviously they're not the same animal. So we have to kind of consider the details here, and that's what many of these studies that I talk about do. They go into great detail and test specific things and ask specific questions. And as I've said before, what we need are more answers. We need more people asking more questions. And when you look at the studies that show, yes, wireless is safe and no, it's not safe, there are too many that say, no, it's not safe. And as I said with the FCC, when you have this giant chunk showing that no, it's not safe, and it's growing, especially with 5G coming, there's lots and lots of people, like, and I'm talking here like researchers, like smart people, people with PhDs after their names. They're cranking out these studies, and they're talking about it, and you know, and the FCC goes in front of Congress and goes, nah, we didn't do anything. And you're going like, hang on a minute here, like we need to be asking more questions, we need to be doing more studies, we need to actually make this stuff safe if possible, and there you go. So there you go, that was some fun little Q&A. For more techie tips, see ScottiesTech.Info. Thanks for watching, see you next time.